Welcome to my channel, Delightful Stories. I'll be happy if you subscribe to my channel and like it. Enjoy watching and don't forget to leave your opinion in the comments about the story. Austin, what do you think? Disturbing, asked Benjamin the doctor, who came out of the room of Chloe's daughter. The girl's condition, to put it bluntly, is not good. She has not spoken for a long time. A week since her mother's funeral. She turned off her phone. She doesn't take her laptop. She doesn't turn on the TV. And she doesn't leave her room. She lies in bed all day, staring at the ceiling. If he's awake, what did he eat today? Nothing. I only drank juice and not much of it. And yesterday I had a cup of broth. That's what Charlotte, the au pair, said. She needs to eat properly. Refuses. It's hard, the father sighed. Doesn't want to see me at all. Turns away and cries if I come in. She has the same reaction as she has to me. Charlotte is the only one who lets me in. Well, here's more for you. The psychiatrist was there. He made an appointment. You know how it is with the doctors here. I brought him in yesterday from the regional capital. She wouldn't talk to him, but still, he made a conclusion according to my story. He looked at her and said she was depressed after the stress she had gone through. I bought pills on his prescription the same day, and she refused to take them. Maybe Charlotte can still somehow convince or, look for a peer caregiver. Not even really a caregiver, but companions, I guess. She doesn't need care per se. She doesn't need care per se. She needs someone around her. Who could she trust? That way she could probably start talking too. Does she have girlfriends? I guess I do. I don't know, confused Benjamin. We haven't been very close lately, especially when the fight with her mother started. Check with the homeroom teacher at school. She must know who your daughter was friends with. Invite her friend to be a caregiver. They've done all the exams. Benjamin's voice trembled, but he immediately pulled himself together. There's a graduation party coming up. But if I find a friend, I'll try to persuade her. I won't spare any money. If that doesn't help, then you have to go to the hospital. Otherwise, you will lose her. Sorry to be blunt, do you mean a mental hospital? Yes, until she's 18. As a father, do you handle this on your own? And then you need her consent? When the doctor left, Benjamin sank heavily onto the couch in the living room. How tired he was. And how long and unbelievably hard the past week had been. 7 days ago, on his 40th birthday, Angelina, the mother of his daughter, had died. It had been many years before, as if he had managed to live another terrible life without her. He met Angelina when he was almost 40 himself. At the district festival of the Harvest Day, he could not take his eyes off the girl with the long blonde frame and jeans and a t-shirt. She was standing near the stage, taking pictures of the winners. That year, the farming enterprise which Benjamin headed for the first time received a record harvest in the district, and in the region was knocked out into the leaders. It is clear that Benjamin was in the spotlight. He wanted to give his bouquet, which he received on stage, along with a diploma and a red ribbon, to this girl with the camera, though he could have taken it to Zoe. But he didn't remember her at the time. He immediately found out that her name was Angelina, and she worked in the press service of the district administration. She accepted the bouquet with gratitude. But she was immediately called away and she left. All night long he thought of her, beside his lawful wife. And the next day he came to the district center. He went into her office and offered to have coffee after work. It was Friday. Angelina did not refuse. Instead of coffee, he took her to his friend's campground, where they spent the entire weekend, after which he never wanted to part with her again. He fell in love like a boy. Only Benjamin had been married a long time and had no plans to divorce. At first, Angelina was not at all embarrassed by this fact. She liked their secret meetings, his expensive gifts. He rented an apartment for her, where he came almost every night. But at night, he would drive home to his big house in the center of the village, only 5 kilometers from the district town. And when Angelina told him about her pregnancy, She first started talking about the fact that her future child needs a father. And then they had a big fight. This had never happened in 6 months of their loving relationship. So I have nothing and won't have anything. No husband, no home of my own, no money of my own. Why did I ever get involved with you? Angelina screamed. You knew I was married and that's not going to change. Benjamin spoke in a high-pitched voice. I don't refuse to support you and our future child. You will always have money and will solve the housing problem. But I can't marry you. Angelina said she would terminate the pregnancy and go to the regional capital. So he might as well forget. That was not what Benjamin wanted at all, but then he left, slamming the door and saying goodbye. Do as you please. He came back, however, quickly, almost immediately asked forgiveness, almost on his knees, promised to build a house for her and the baby, to help her organize her own business. He promised to help her set up her own business, even open a store, so that she could have a steady income of her own, in addition to what he gave her. And then she agreed not to ask him for a divorce, understanding that he could not always be with her, even when she wanted him badly. But not on her last birthday, which by some tradition she wasn't even going to celebrate. They say it's bad luck to celebrate 40 years. Angelina then began demanding Benjamin's attention in the morning. He arrived with a huge bouquet of 39 scarlet roses and handed her a box containing a diamond bracelet. She used to say that she dreamed of having one. Let's be alone tonight, she asked. Chloe is going to spend the night at a friend's house after the exam. We'll be alone. I don't want any other company. I can't make it tonight. Benjamin began softly, realizing that the real reason for his refusal is not worth telling it. I'll try, but no promises, he said as he left and kissed her on the cheek. If only he had known it would be his last kiss. He was flailing about beside his wife, who was suffering from headaches. They had happened from time to time before on certain days of her cycle and dragged on for days at a time. Sometimes the painkillers made her feel better, and sometimes nothing helped. Now she was no longer of childbearing age. Zoya's migraines began to plague her much less frequently, but the pain was, as she assured me, even worse than in previous years. At least a little relief was helped by foot glasses in the bathroom, which someone had to make or brew black tea. It relieved the condition too. Benjamin was just carrying a cup to his wife's bedside when Angelina called. He came out of the house to answer it. And I'm celebrating my birthday. Without you. Benjamin flinched when he heard Angelina's drunken voice. He rarely allowed himself alcohol, knowing that in such a state he could do something stupid. Where are you, anxious, he asked. At the Mon Amour restaurant. And I have great company here. Guys, can you say something to my man? Angelina. Stop, wait for him, and he pressed the silence. Then he immediately called his driver. He trusted this 20-year-old boy. He was not chatty. So there was no fear that any family or non-family secrets of Benjamin, which the driver was unwittingly privy to, would become known to the people of the village or the district center. Paul, that was the driver's name, could be summoned at any time of the day, and he was always ready to go in the right direction. Benjamin did not skimp on rewards for his faithful assistant. He never once let him down. Only that evening, Paul didn't have time to pick up Angelina. She did get behind the wheel of Benjamin's gifted car, which she had been in an accident in, and it cost her her life. Zoya had fallen asleep after another round of painkillers when Benjamin's cell phone began to vibrate on silent. The driver, struggling to find the words, spoke of the tragedy that had occurred. In the morning, the news was already known throughout the neighborhood. Some sympathized with Benjamin, but still most of the acquaintances and strangers thought he was responsible for what had happened. Perhaps that was fair. But Benjamin, after the shock of Angelina's death and then her funeral, had only one thing on his mind: his relationship with his daughter. However, She also immediately became aware of the circumstances of her mother's death and what preceded it. "How could you leave her alone?" shouted Chloe at her father. "I would have stayed with my mom if she hadn't told me you'd be with her that night. And you just blended in like you always do. How much do I hate you? I'll never forgive you." At the cemetery, when the coffin was lowered into the grave, her daughter lost consciousness. Chloe spent 2 days in the hospital, hardly getting out of bed and talking to no one. Doctors, after examination, said that her physical condition was normal, but mental or psychological is not their profile. And now, in Austin's opinion, Chloe was facing a psychiatric hospital. Benjamin was ready to use any advice he could to help his daughter get back to normal, and he went to the school where she attended. Benjamin found the classroom teacher in the teacher's lounge. A middle-aged, lush woman was sitting at her desk, writing something. She was alone in the room. "You, Ginny?" "Just in case," he asked, although the guard, when he was writing down his passport data in some journal of his own, said that no one was in the teacher's room except her. She put down her notes and got up from her desk. "You Dad, Chloe, Benjamin?" "How did you know?" Benjamin was surprised. He had never met this teacher. He never went to his daughter's school either. "You are a popular personality as the head of one of the best agricultural enterprises in the district. Your photo often appears on the pages of the local newspaper," she explained. "My condolences. How's Chloe?" "Thank you. Chloe is taking the death of her mother very hard. You know. The doctor suggested that we get someone from her classmates to be her caregiver. I wanted to ask you who she was friends with. I, unfortunately, am not aware of it. She needs care. I don't think a teenager can do it. No, rather, she needs company. Someone of her peers she knows well. Someone she could talk to freely if she wanted to. Can you recommend someone? I'm willing to pay for this service." Liam would probably fit right in, and he and Chloe have been friends for a long time. Besides, Liam and his sister could use the money. They were orphaned 2 years ago. "Where can I find Liam?" Ginny went to the window. "There's a group of guys over there in the yard." Benjamin looked out the window, where young people were standing and discussing something heatedly. Liam was wearing a black t-shirt and pants, with shoulder-length dark hair. "What kind of fashion is this?" Benjamin was involuntarily indignant. "They're all wearing hoodies of some kind, all in pants. You can't tell a guy from a girl." "Yes, you're right," the teacher smiled. "Au Versailles unisex." "Excuse me. Clothes of no particular size that everyone can wear regardless of gender." "Exactly. Can Liam even be trusted?" "Yes, of course. There is a lot of responsibility. Parents brought her up well. She got straight A's, just like your Chloe. That's a good thing. But here they are already parting. Upset," Benjamin remarked. "I'll give you the Liam telephone." I wrote down the number on my cell phone and handed the piece of paper to Benjamin. "Tell Chloe that we all love her very much and would love to see her at graduation. I understand she will not be able to attend the graduation. You may have to pick up her diploma. Call me when it's ready." And he held out his card to the teacher. He returned to the house he had built for the late Angelina. I hope to hear that his daughter is feeling better. But the faithful assistant only frowned, still not a word. And no matter what I offer her, she turns away from everything. I decided to invite a caregiver of my daughter's age. The doctor advised it. Now I'm going to call and make an appointment. With all due respect, Benjamin, this nurse will be able to spend the night. She has a family of her own. Even your extra pay won't help me here. I love Chloe very much, as you know, but I can't live permanently. I'm going to find out now. Charlotte's words upset him. She had stayed with Chloe in the empty house for the last 2 hours, and he himself had slept in Angelina's bedroom 3 times since bringing Chloe home from the hospital. An invited caregiver by her daughter was rejected. Chloe immediately turned away when she first walked in. So Benjamin did not risk leaving his daughter overnight, and he had to refuse her services altogether. But he could not stay with Chloe himself any longer, nor could he take her to his big house in the village where he lived with his lawful wife. He dialed the number written on the teacher's piece of paper, but he heard an answering machine. He recorded an audio message in which he outlined his proposal to the Liam. He received the answer as text, and it was one word: good. After the traditional good day wish, I made arrangements with the nurse, Benjamin informed Charlotte. Liam is coming to see Chloe. They are in the same class. Liam will stay the night? The woman asked with surprise. Yes, I got consent. Is something wrong? No. You tell me. I'm going to finish dinner and go home. I've already done the cleaning. Will you wait for yourself, Liama? I have a favor to ask of you. I have to leave right away. I have a lot of things to do. Well, all right, sighed Charlotte. I'll stay a little longer. I'm very grateful to you. This is a bonus for your extra trouble. He held out the envelope. Thank you. The woman put it in her pocket. Before he left, Benjamin cautiously peered into Chloe's room. She lay with her eyes closed, covered by a thin plaid. It pained him to watch his daughter fade before his eyes. She had once been such a cheerful girl. He had loved her tinkling laughter so much. Maybe spending time with Liam would actually be good for her. Benjamin sighed heavily and headed for the exit. For the next few days, he had no opportunity to visit his daughter, but he was in constant contact with Charlotte and was pleased to note that the doctor's advice was yielding good results. Chloe is taking pills prescribed by a psychiatrist and has finally started to eat normally. She even ate soup today, Charlotte reported. You know, I was surprised when you invited Liam as a caregiver. Only Chloe has really gotten much better. She doesn't talk to me yet, but I've heard her voice. It sounds like she's talking to Liam. Thank you for the good news. Benjamin smiled for the first time since Angelina's death. I'll be there tomorrow morning. On that day, all his affairs were solved as if by magic. There was hope that life would somehow get better now. His daughter would get better and forgive him. He arrived early the next day. Charlotte had not yet arrived. The house was very quiet. Benjamin cautiously scooped up his daughter's room, opened the door, and was dumbfounded. This was something he had certainly not expected to see. Charlotte said on the phone that Chloe and Liam seemed to sleep together because the bed in the guest room remained perfectly made. Benjamin replied that he didn't see the problem. How could he have been so wrong? Now he understood Charlotte's doubts about Liam's sleepovers. The father was sure that he had invited his daughter's girlfriend as a caregiver, but it turned out to be a friend of Liam's, a boy, not a girl. Now he could see it with his own eyes. Chloe was asleep in her arms with a young man, and they were both completely naked. Benjamin took the plaid and threw it over his daughter's naked body. Get out, he said quietly. When he saw the boy open his eyes, Benjamin immediately left the room. He nervously paced the corridor. God, what a fool he was, thinking to himself. Benjamin himself let the goat into the vegetable garden instead of the nurse invited the lover to his underage daughter. A minute later, Liam, that was his real name, came out of Chloe's room. He wore the same loose t-shirt and pants as when Benjamin had seen him from the teacher's room window. He didn't look so much like a girl now, despite his shoulder-length hair. Hey, you puppy, how could you take advantage of my daughter's illness? Benjamin grabbed the guy by the shoulders with righteous anger and covered him with his head, but he tried to speak in a whisper so as not to wake Chloe up. I hired you as a nurse, and that's what you're doing. We love each other, said the boy quite calmly. It's been a long time since Chloe's mom has prevented us from seeing each other. Did she know you were sleeping together? Benjamin gasped with indignation. This was something he hadn't expected from Angelina. No, it wasn't like that yet, but our feelings would inevitably lead to intimacy. And that obviously helped Chloe cope with the stress. Did her hormones change? Shut up. The angry father couldn't hear that. What a clever boy you are. That's a good excuse. You little bastard. Chloe and I are getting married. There was no hint of fear in Liam's voice of the angry father of the girl he'd been caught in bed with. So your insult was a waste of time. Who would let you marry my daughter, asshole? Benjamin hissed, pinning the boy against the wall. It's not up to you. It's up to Chloe. She's 18 in a month. I know when my daughter's birthday is. Benjamin let go of the boy's shoulders, reached into his pocket, and pulled out some bills from his wallet. He slipped them into Liam's hand and barked, "Get out, and don't go near my daughter." The guy took his time putting on his sneakers and walked out of the house, closing the front door carefully. Benjamin was shaking with anger. He heard his daughter's voice and his heart sank. He hurried to her bedroom. Chloe was standing by the bed, tying her short robe. How much did she resemble her mother? The same slender figure, the same blonde, long curls. "Hello, my darling." He wanted to go over and kiss her on the cheek, but his daughter pulled away sharply. "What are you doing here?" she asked angrily. "Where is Liam?" "It's good to hear your voice." Benjamin smiled. Liam left. "Did you chase him away?" She looked intently into her father's eyes, and he couldn't bear the look. "First he called me, and now he's chased me away." She shouted with undisguised anger. "I called him to talk to you or read you books, but certainly not to sleep in the same bed." A wave of anger came over Benjamin with renewed vigor. "I didn't give my permission for such debauchery." Now he was raising his own voice. "Who asked you about it?" Chloe stared angrily with her eyes. "It's only my business. And who would tell me? So you're a righteous man. All these years living on two families. I don't know how your mother could get mixed up with you." "I don't want to see you. Go away." Her voice trembled. She quickly went into the bathroom and closed the door. Benjamin froze at a loss in the middle of his daughter's room when his cell phone rang. He didn't want to answer it. He needed some time to gather his thoughts and talk to his daughter. But the phone wouldn't stop ringing. Yes, he picked it up without even looking to see who was calling so persistently. "Benjamin, we have an emergency in the garage." He heard the excited voice of his chief agriculturist. "So figure it out. I'm afraid we're going to need you. There's been an accident." "What's the matter?" "Benjamin is back. I'll be right there." Walking out of the house, he bumped into a Ginny. "Keep an eye on Chloe," he asked. "I'll call you later." He turned around at the gate. "Did you know that Liam is a guy?" "Yes," the woman answered in surprise. Benjamin cursed again and walked quickly to his car. On the way, his cell phone rang incessantly. In addition to the emergency in the garage, where one of the mechanics had been crushed by a truck, he was told that a regional inspection had come to the farm because several cows were allegedly infected, and there was a threat of quarantine. The chief agronomist said that the weather forecast was that it would start raining. Hail is also possible, and grain harvesting has not been completed yet. There was a call from the processing plant in the sausage, which has already gone on sale. The sanitation inspector found a discrepancy in quality. "What about you?" said Benjamin, pressing the phone button as the number of his friend's son came up on the screen. "Mom, to the hospital." "Are you going to answer it like you promised, or should I?" "You're all over the place," Benjamin pushing back, already approaching the central farmstead of his farm. For several hours he had been working hard to solve the production problems that had fallen on his head. Why did he always have such a heap of tasks on his shoulders? There are deputies. He should hold a meeting and redistribute duties, although who else but himself could handle it all so quickly? His son was 35, and his father still wondered if he should be trusted more than he was now, or if he should wait. He's been rushing into action ever since he graduated from agriculture school, and now he's used to being quoted at the back of his father's shadow. It was Benjamin's own fault for not supporting his son's initiative in time. But it's not too late now. We must talk to him. He was just about to call his son. A chirpy ringtone informed him of an incoming call. Charlotte, what happened? In the turmoil, Benjamin had even managed to forget about the incident this morning. The Liam he had found in his daughter's bed, and his quarrel with Chloe. It was worth noting, though, that she was clearly feeling better. I don't even know how to tell you, Charlotte began. Tell it like it is. Benjamin took a risk. He couldn't stand it if someone mumbled, answering his question. Chloe's gone. Where did she go? What's the matter? You can't tell right away what happened. What's the word he has to pull out? I don't know. But she seems to have taken some things with her. I don't see a laptop either. When? I don't know. I just noticed it myself and called you right away. I'll be there soon and I'll figure it out myself. He pressed hang up. That's all I needed. The other day she was lying in bed, fading away before my eyes. And now she was running away from home. What's going on anyway? Is this all because he chased Lim away? Or is there some other reason? Benjamin puzzled. He instructed his deputy and the chief specialist to get into the car quickly and rushed into town, trying to call his daughter and her friend. But neither of them answered his call. And then came a text message from the bank about a charge on his credit card, which Angelina had had for over a year, just in case. 150. Sounds like his daughter was going far away. No pity about the money. If it's for a good cause, Benjamin is willing to give his daughter 1 million or more. But what will she think of out of resentment and anger, and in the company of this Lima? At Angelina's house, Charlotte pointed to the empty shelves in Benjamin's closet, looked around his daughter's room for a note, but found nothing. Then he rushed to the school to get Lim's address. Maybe Chloe was at his place. But Benjamin no longer doubted that his daughter was going away. Why else would she have so much money? He only hoped he could find it before he left. He wanted to talk, to try to fix things up so his daughter wouldn't do bad things, though he had no idea what he would say now. He just wanted to know where she was, see her, and then somehow it would work out. At school he ran into his friend the doctor, who advised him to invite one of his classmates as a caregiver. How's Chloe? Anxious, Austin asked. I took your advice, Benjamin answered angrily. It looks like she ran away as a nurse. That's how. For some reason the doctor smiled. So she's better now. That's a good thing, Benjamin. The girls will be back for a walk. The guy turned out to be a nurse. Wow! Austin couldn't contain his laughter, but he immediately stopped. How could you do that? It's not funny to me at all. I was stupid. Of course, I didn't check it out properly. I found them in bed this morning. So you can't tell a guy from a girl. Was he in the room? No, of course not. Benjamin was getting more and more annoyed by this conversation. But they all look the same now. You can't tell if it's a girl or a boy. I hadn't even seen him up close until this morning. I understand, I'm sorry. The doctor answered more seriously. But look at the situation on the positive side. After all, this step helped bring Chloe out of the crisis. I don't want her to end up in another crisis now. Benjamin waved his hand, about to leave, but stopped immediately. Please don't tell anyone that my daughter left home. It's a small town, and it's a small neighborhood. There's already so much talk about us. You know that. You don't have to worry about that. I will consider it part of patient confidentiality. The beast runs after the catcher, Benjamin thought. And when he had just said goodbye to the doctor, he saw the teacher. She noticed him too, and walked toward him smiling. Chloe came by today to pick up her certificate, she said. I'm glad she's all right. Liam was with her. That's the miracle of school friendship. Tell me about it. Benjamin made an effort to restrain himself from saying anything unnecessary about the friendship between Liam and his daughter. Can you tell me where this Liam lives? Yes, of course. She gave me the address. He's my neighbor, decided to be in solidarity with his friend. He took his diploma, too. He turned down a graduation ceremony today, too. Friends like that are worth their weight in gold. And you guys probably want to go out, don't you? Yes. Where are they going? Benjamin hoped he could find out from her now. That's the way they're leaving today, she answered in a confused way. Yes, of course. Where to? All too insistently, the agitated father asked. Don't you know? The teacher was surprised. They didn't tell me anything definite, only that they were leaving today. What are they leaving on? Did they at least say? No. The smile had completely disappeared from the genie's face. Did something happen to you and Chloe? Oh, come on. Everything is all right, Benjamin stated confidently, trying not to reassure himself inside. It's just that in the morning, Chloe didn't tell me anything definite either. And then I had so much to do in a hurry. But now I'm going to ask her. He himself said goodbye and walked quickly to the car. Excuse me, you're going to Liam's. Why don't you give me a ride? The teacher shouted after him. We're neighbors. Yes, of course. Benjamin opened the car door, inviting me to sit down, although such a passenger now seemed to him quite inappropriate. Liam is going to study to be a programmer, and Chloe, as you know, is going to be a designer. Unless, of course, their plans have changed. She, trying to keep up the conversation, was not useless at all, so Benjamin was already glad she'd asked to be his traveling companion. They used to say that they would go together either to New York or to the regional capital. That's why I don't know what they decided. The grieving father, who was completely unaware of his daughter's plans, tried to justify himself, especially after this morning's argument with her. Angelina had said something about Chloe's upcoming schooling a few days before she died, but he had let it pass his lips. He was too busy with work matters and only asked how much money he needed, since Angelina herself planned to go with her daughter to wherever she decided to go. And if they're going to New York, then they must have taken tickets too, reasoned the genie. They had already taken it then. Now it's all quickly resolved over the internet, as calmly as I could, Benjamin said. The teacher told him how best to drive into the yard, an old 5-story apartment. This is the 5th floor. I'm on the 1st floor, but I can walk you up. I'm on the 1st floor, but I can take you there. Who's that for? Asked a curious grandmother who was coming out into the street, and Benjamin had to shy away to make way for the woman. So he and his girl left about 15 minutes ago in a cab. I thought I told the driver, take us to the station. Which station is the train or bus station? Benjamin asked, getting ready to rush after him. So I don't know. That's what I heard, that's what I'm saying. Will you call Chloe? Jeannie prompted. The battery on my phone is dead. Benjamin lied, realizing that his daughter would not answer if she saw that he was calling out of range. Disappointed, the teacher said, pressing hang up. Let's check with Liam's sister. She probably knows. So she left yesterday to visit her aunt in the village. The old woman was given away by her neighbor. What happened? It's all right, Auntie. And he wanted to walk. Benjamin hastily thanked him for his help and got behind the wheel, so as not to waste any more time. He decided to trust fate and drove first to the train station, hoping that that was where the fugitives had gone. The platform was empty. Only a janitor was emptying a trash garbage can. It was to him that Benjamin went to ask questions. He said that the train to New York had left 5 minutes ago and the train to the regional capital even earlier. Benjamin found a picture of his daughter in his cell phone and showed it to the older man. I can't say for sure, but it looked like a girl was getting on with a guy, or maybe in an electric train. Benjamin had no time to put away his cell phone when it rang. The screen showed his son. Dad, Mom's not feeling well. You'll be here soon. Yes, son. I'll be there in half an hour. Benjamin wasn't able to find Liam's sister at home until 2 days later. He found out her name was Mabel. Why do you doubt Liam? The girl stated confidently. When Benjamin asked her to tell him where her brother and Chloe had gone, expressing his fears that they might be in trouble. "He won't let your daughter get hurt. That's what he looks like. He's just a teenager, a skinny kid. He's very strong in spirit. We don't have a father anymore, but my brother grew up to be a real man. After our mom died, he helped me deal with the grief even though I'm 2 years older and I was only 18 at the time. I got custody of him, but really he was the one who took custody of me. And your Chloe was very supportive. Her mom Angelina helped us until the last day. Did Chloe sleep over?" Benjamin looked worried. "Yes, I stayed sometimes with Angelina's permission." "And Angelina allowed such debauchery? What are you talking about?" Mabel was indignant. "Chloe staying with us, slept with me and Liam in the living room on the couch, and now they are already sleeping together. But it had to happen sooner or later. They love each other. They are going to get married in the future and live their whole lives together. What money are they going to live on? Did you know that Chloe took money from my credit card?" "Yes, but Liam didn't approve of that. He himself has already started earning, writes simple programs for small businesses. Websites have long learned how to do so, that he already has an income. And now he will go to college to study and go even faster up the hill. Yes, and Chloe is going to take orders on the internet for the design of advertisements. They're good guys. They won't go to waste. I need to find my daughter." Benjamin is getting more irritated by the minute. "Why?" "Chloe was just beginning to come to her senses after Angelina's death. You'll make it worse for her. That's why I won't tell you where they went. Besides, I made them a promise. Just know that she's okay. Liam will take care of her. Do you even hear yourself? You poor orphan sucking up to a rich girl. Do you even know where her money came from? You think her business fell from the moon? Think of it as me helping you. I didn't know it myself, but I want to put a stop to it. I can find my daughter without you." "I think it's time for you to go," Mabel said sharply. "I'm not going to listen to your insults and accusations. It was your daughter who withdrew the money from your credit card, and you still have to support her, even if she doesn't want to see you. And don't you dare make any complaints about me or my brother. He's an honest man, unlike you. It was you who had a mistress who gave birth to your daughter. He would never do that." "I'm sure of it." Benjamin slammed his car door angrily. He had hoped so much to learn about his daughter from Liam's sister. But now that hope was gone like smoke. The conversation frankly angered him, but it also reminded him that it wouldn't hurt to find out what was going on with Angelina's stores. She had hired a manager from the beginning, and he closed any issues that arose. Profits went into the bank account. Chloe would inherit, and she would have access to that account and re-register the house to herself. Here he was calm. But what was going on there right now? He called the trustee, and he said there was no problem. In fact, that was what he had said at the funeral, so at least one less headache to think about. But Chloe. Benjamin's greatest fear was that his daughter was addicted to some illegal substance. He had seen what the son of the manager of one of his dairy farms had become. When he left to study in the regional center and started taking various drugs, Benjamin's appearance made an indelible impression on him. The boy's father said that young people often spend their spare cash on such crap. If suddenly there was a bad mood, what if Chloe wanted to have this kind of pleasure? Here he remembered that Liam's sister had said that her brother was a serious man, and if she didn't know him well. After all, Chloe and Liam now had the money she'd taken out of her credit card. Oh, I wished I hadn't had those thoughts, but they persisted in his head, and he was all the more determined to find his daughter as soon as possible. Austin, remember you said you had a computer genius guy working in the hospital. You know, they deal with the internet and other software. Benjamin called a doctor friend, hoping not for medical help. Yeah, Adrian, he's a smart kid. What do you need him for? Well, maybe he can find out somehow through maybe hack into her page and look at the correspondence. Benjamin looked at the kid hopefully. I will not hack into someone else's page, let alone read someone else's correspondence, said Adrian decisively. He didn't raise an eyebrow when Benjamin placed a $100 bill on his keyboard. I can try. Here's what you said, that they're going to apply to New York or another city. Then they will be on the list of applicants to the universities they apply to. By the way, you can apply to more than one, so they can end up on the lists of universities in 2 cities. Guaranteed to be where they will be in the list of those enrolled. This will be known at the beginning of August. But I can start looking for them now, and then just to make sure not to miss the enrollment. It's a painstaking job. Thanks for the fee. And the guy put the bill in his pocket. Benjamin had no choice but to agree to at least that kind of help. He didn't count on Adrian being able to quickly find at least some trace of his daughter and the hated Xenia. But after a couple of days, Benjamin received a voicemail from him. Found in the list of applicants to the Regional University of Lyme, according to the sum of his scores, he has a good chance of passing the competition, especially since he also goes on a quota for orphans. I haven't found it on the list yet, and I haven't monitored the universities in New York yet. As I told you, they could have applied to several institutions. Benjamin had not slept well all night, and this news gave him some energy. It would take him a couple of hours to get to the provincial capital by car. But where would he look for his daughter? It's like a needle in a haystack. She probably rented an apartment with Liam, but what part of town? We'll just have to be patient and wait for the final enrollment list, and then to drop in on the first day of school. Just as long as nothing happens to Chloe during that time. Somehow it seemed to him that if they kept in touch again, it would keep his daughter out of trouble, that she would be more secure if he himself knew where she was and what was wrong with her. The day-to-day business in which Benjamin used to be selflessly immersed. It was now somehow relegated to the back burner. He had delegated most of the tasks to his deputies, and his son Robert became more involved in the affairs of the business he was to inherit. When Benjamin was about to retire, he himself had once taken over the farm at almost the same age. His father-in-law gave him the reins. Zoe's father, when he retired, became Benjamin, replacing his father, whom Benjamin did not remember. He passed away early and could have gone the wrong way if the chairman of the collective farm had not taken him under his wing in time, not only providing him with work during the summer vacations, but also inviting him to visit. There, I struck up a friendship with his daughter Zoya. Even though they were in the same class, they didn't communicate much before. But since this summer, after the 8th grade, they spent a lot of time together. Zoe didn't have any outstanding looks. Thin, unkempt, with small eyes and a pointy nose. But Benjamin liked her kind disposition and malleable character. She was a good hostess and helped her mother in everything, both in the kitchen and in the garden, of domestic animals. To marry a bunny was like winning the lottery, Benjamin said. The girl's mother wasn't a beauty, and her face is not a drinker of water. Her father will help to get you elected chairman of the collective farm in the future. How does he promote you everywhere? It's like he's preparing a child. By the age of 20, Zoya became more feminine, used all sorts of girlish tricks, covered her eyes and curled her hair. But Benjamin felt no love. He only felt respect for Zoya, and even more so for her father. He only came to ask Zoya's father for marriage when he was told directly that he could have a girl. There are so many kids. Time to get married. By that time, Benjamin had already graduated from agricultural college and served in the army. Zoya had also graduated as an accountant. She seemed to be very much in love with Benjamin. She never tired of talking about it to the whole village. In short, everything had been decided for him long ago. All that was left to do was make the decisive step. And so he got married. and he took over the collective farm from his father-in-law 10 years later, when he had already received a higher education in economics. Benjamin dealt with the land shares himself when the time came. He turned the farm into a closed-joint stock company and, in fact, into his own private enterprise. But people didn't complain. Better a homegrown owner than the last one. And the 1 billion Benjamins were not jealous. They understood that he had a lot of responsibility, too. Benjamin's wages were now the highest in the neighborhood. Everyone wanted to work for him, and everyone knew he valued hard, working people. But he remained forever grateful, and when he asked to make a promise before his death, he readily agreed, though he did not know what he would hear from his father. "In-law, promise me that you will never leave her for the convicts," Zoe's father demanded. "I know there may be other women in your life. You're a prominent man, but you can't forbid it, and I can understand that it's one thing to go out, and another thing to go out, and another thing to destroy your family. So promise me that you will never let this happen. I'll get you out of the other side of the world." Benjamin made a promise, and he kept his word. There were occasional affairs, but not in his native village, but in the district town. Rumors must have gotten to his wife, only Zoya never reproached him for anything she had not heard. And 5 years after his father-in-law's death, Benjamin met Angelina and fell in love for the first time in his life. He understood their relationship will not go unnoticed by people, but could not do anything with himself. Almost from the first day, he gave Angelina the bouquet at the harvest day. Zoya must have heard about it, but she didn't let on. As always, she was friendly and affectionate with her husband, and so it went on all these years, until Angelina's death. Not a word of reproach. Not once. It was as if Benjamin moved into another reality when he came home. To Zoe, he had always been a faithful and reliable husband. At least, that's all she ever acted like. And how had she managed it? He couldn't imagine. But the son sometimes looked askance, though maybe because he'd already sat in his place. One of the deputies. "My dream was to run the company. And even yesterday, Benjamin didn't think Robert was ready yet. But now he felt endless fatigue and would probably be glad to get rid of the burden of responsibility for the enterprise." His chief concern since that ill-fated morning was now the search for his daughter. Everything else had faded into the background. He has to find Chloe, and he'll figure out how to establish a relationship with her later. Benjamin closed his eyes as he sat in the chair of his secretary's office and told her not to let anyone in. So much did he want a few minutes of peace and rest. Only the thoughts in his head kept him from relaxing. And then the phone rang. And then the phone rang. Benjamin was overjoyed. "Is there really any news about Chloe?" "Here's the thing." The guy hesitated, but immediately continued. "I'll tell you the news from the regional capital. This is from the incident report. I found an unofficial site on the internet, but I decided to look through everything I could find. And this is what I came across. Well, take a look for yourself." A few seconds later, the guy sent Benjamin a video file. Benjamin put on his glasses and pressed play. A girl with a cityscape in the background spoke into the microphone. "Today, there was a traffic accident near the main building of the regional university, which almost cost the lives of university applicants. The girl was walking on a crosswalk when she was hit by a black SUV. The driver fled the scene. Now he is wanted by police, and the victim was delivered in serious condition to Regional Clinical Hospital. Doctors are fighting for her life." Benjamin dropped the phone. The thing he was so afraid of had happened. His daughter was in serious condition. He felt a high fever in his chest. He found it hard to breathe. He tore into town shirts and buttons. As much as he had the strength, he shouted to the secretary. When the young woman opened the doors, Benjamin was already lying on the floor as he fell over his chair. Austin was sure there was no worse fate than reporting bad news. How many times had he had to tell relatives about the death of their closest loved ones? Such is the fate of a doctor who is far from always able to save a person's life. But this time he had a different task, and he didn't know if he could do it. To correct a mistake that he indirectly held himself responsible for. He took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, then determinedly pressed the bell button next to apartment number 5. "You, Liam?" he asked the boy, to be who opened the door. "Yes. Who are you?" "Dr. Austin." "I'm here to see Chloe. Put her on, please." "If you're from her father, she won't talk to you decisively," the young man stated. "Just call her, and she'll decide whether to talk to me or not." Liam left, and a minute later invited him in. The doctor looked around the small room with curiosity, seemingly the only room in the apartment where the boy had taken him. He went out, and Austin was left alone and seated on a comfortable couch. "I wonder how the daughter of a millionaire who is used to the comforts of home lives here. However, it is worth noting that it is quite cozy, and the repairs are quite fresh." Chloe came in with a cup of coffee and placed it on the table next to the doctor. "Talk to me. What do you want, Austin?" He thanked her and took a sip. "I brought your passport. Where did you get it?" Chloe was surprised. "I thought I'd lost it. You forgot it at the university when you applied. The girl from the admissions office turned out to be an acquaintance of yours and took your passport to give it to you." "Victoria. She's from our town. Why did she give you my passport? She rents a room next door to us. She could have given it to me herself. You've been told that you look like her. At school, they sometimes called me and my sisters as a joke. But what's that got to do with it? She was hit by a car when she was crossing the street near the university. Your passport was in her bag. The police thought she was you. And one girl blogger even managed to report online that Chloe had been in an accident and was hospitalized in serious condition. Victoria is in the hospital. What's wrong with her? Her condition, fortunately, is not as severe as stated in bloggers, who probably are not used to fact-checking." Austin grimaced. "Concussion of the brain and a closed fracture of the radius without dislocation. There are also multiple contusions and abrasions, but not life-threatening. He'll be fine soon. Thank God," exhaled Chloe. "We should pay her a visit, but that's not all the news." Austin took one last sip of coffee and put the cup down. "Your father?" "But I don't want to hear anything about him," the girl interrupted the doctor. He saw the video on the internet as if not noticing Chloe's retort. Austin continued, "That blogger where she said you were the one who was hit by the car and that you were the one who was taken to the regional hospital in serious condition. Your father had a heart attack." Austin stopped talking and looked at Chloe. The expression on her face changed. Just a minute ago she was angry at the mention of her father, but now there was anxiety and even fear in her eyes. "What's wrong with him now?" Liam asked quietly. "He wants to see you. He's dying." The girl's eyes filled with tears. "I think that seeing you might improve his condition. He really asks you to come. Will you come with me?" "Yes." "Chloe, I'm not letting you go." Liam intervened in the conversation, who must have heard them because he immediately entered the room. "Then get ready. Let's not waste any more time." They arrived at the district hospital when it was already dark. They drove in silence most of the way. Austin only occasionally glanced in the mirror at the passengers in the back seat. Chloe and Liam huddled together like two shirts in the winter cold. It had been a hot day, though. "I arranged for my colleagues to let us into the intensive care unit," Austin told Park. "The car is in the hospital parking lot." He was a little worried that Benjamin might have his wife Zoe now, and those fears were justified. She was actually standing at the window in front of the intensive care unit, wearing a white robe slung over her shoulders. When she saw Austin with Chloe and Liam, she delicately turned away, and the doctor exhaled. He didn't want to be a party to unpleasant conversations, especially before he had accomplished his mission. Benjamin, as soon as he recovered in the hospital, asked to find the doctor. And when he got there, Austin made another request. Find out how my daughter is, please. She was hit by a car and is in serious condition in the regional hospital. Your computer genius sent me a video of the accident. I wish you were alive. When Austin found out there had been a mistake, he immediately called to reassure his friend. There was nothing wrong with his daughter, but he was puzzled by a new request. Bring me Chloe, I beg you. Think of anything, just bring me. What if I don't make it? I don't want to die without asking my daughter's forgiveness. So Austin went to see Chloe. He got her address from a friend who was mistaken for Chloe because of the passport in her bag, and at the hospital the girl was already able to tell him who she was, and Austin had acquaintances there who let him into her room. Austin was glad that Chloe immediately agreed to go to her father. It wasn't until she found out what had happened to him. But was she ready to meet his lawful wife, her stepmother? It's a good thing Zoya herself is not eager to communicate with her husband's illegitimate daughter. There is no telling how her conversation might have turned out. Let that be later. Austin, only one visitor can come in with you right now. The doctor on duty at the Liam warned. You'll have to wait. Austin let Chloe through and followed her into the intensive care unit. The girl, as soon as she saw her father, lying in a hospital bed under an IV, immediately burst into tears, resting against the doctor's shoulder. Daughter, come to me, asked her father, breathing heavily, and she obediently walked over, wiping away her tears. And Benjamin took her hand. Thank you for coming, my darling. Please forgive me for everything. I was very worried about you. I was terribly worried about how unworthy I had been. I'm to blame for what you got, a father like me. You have a right to be angry with me. But that's the way life is. You can't change it. I came to see you whenever I could. I loved your mother so much. Will you ever forgive me? Of course, Dad said to Chloe through his tears, barely restraining his sobs. And I'm sorry too. I didn't mean for it to be like this. Well, honey, do you remember how I used to read you books before bedtime when you were a baby? Chloe nodded. And how did I love picking out presents for you? I was already asking the salesgirls what kind of dolls little girls liked and buying all kinds. And you were delighted with Luba. I loved your joyful laughter, your ringing voice so much. Every time you came, it felt like a holiday. I wanted so much to make your mother and you happy, but I couldn't. I wanted you to take your time with all these relationships with men. That's why I had such a bad talk with Liam. How we love each other and we're getting married a month after my birthday. I'm 18 in a week, it's already decided. Chloe, you're still so young. Take your time. What am I talking about? I understand that you're in such a hurry to get married because you don't want to repeat your mother's fate. I love Liam, so I don't see the point in waiting for anything or anyone. And my mother told me that she never loved anyone before you. You were her only love. Oh, Angelina. Benjamin was silent and tears welled up from his eyes. Austin ordered the doctor on duty to take the girl out. The whole treatment would go to waste. Doctor, I need to say a few words to one more person, asked Benjamin. He asked Chloe. Yes, he stayed at the entrance. Okay. The doctor, seeing Benjamin's diminutive looks, just not more than a minute. Now, Austin will have to bring a Liam. And what to do with Chloe if Zoe is still standing there at the window? But fortunately, Benjamin's wife had already left, and just got daughter's pardon. Benjamin began as the doctor led the boy to his bunk. I also said some nasty things to you the one time we met. I can understand your anger that morning. Let me finish, Liam. We don't have much time. Benjamin interrupted him. My dying father-in-law once made me promise not to abandon his daughter. And I kept my word, though no one knows what it cost me. But you and Chloe say you love each other. I must believe you. I ask you to take care of my little girl, to take care of her as I did. You can always count on it with confidence, stated Liam. Then I am not against your marriage. Be happy." He was silent, and then he added, "Tell your sister my sincere apologies. I am very ashamed. It's been 4 years." Austin walked into Benjamin's backyard, and there was a table set by the roses in the gazebo, and Zoya was on the open veranda fiddling with the stove. She was helped by her daughter-in-law and granddaughter Elenka. My son Robert stood at the mango where the shish kebabs were grilled. "Do you need help?" Jolly asked Austin. "Thank you. It's almost ready," Zoya responded. "Everyone will be out of the house in a moment and we can sit down at the table. A family celebration for the christening of baby Selena, Chloe's daughter. The landlady insisted on celebrating here." Austin always marveled at this woman's character, her ability to forgive and accept other people, to be welcoming and friendly even to strangers. With Liam, now Chloe's husband, she got to know him and got to talking, while Chloe herself accepted the apologies of her father, who, as it seemed at the time, could die at any minute. It might have seemed strange to some. But after a few minutes of talking, Zoe and Liam managed to make a most pleasant impression on each other, and then they exchanged phone numbers. Liam was greatly relieved to learn that his fiancé Benjamin's wife had no grudge against him. Moreover, she found excuses even for Chloe's late mother. She said she understood her as a woman, because Benjamin, she said, was impossible to resist. And then it was Zoya who called Liam and invited him and Chloe to visit, when her husband had just been released from the hospital, and this meeting was the beginning of a strong family relationship, completely unexpected to outsiders who were not tired of prying into the oddity of his wife, Benjamin. Only this family was not used to people's gossip. Zoya never paid attention to what people would say, a very rare quality, especially for a woman living in a small village. Benjamin later confessed to Austin that he had taken a new look at his wife. "You see, I have feelings for her now that I didn't have when I was young," Benjamin confided. "Clearly, it's not the passionate love that bound Angelina and I together. This is different. A quieter, more balanced feeling. But I can say with certainty that, in addition to respect and gratitude, I now have love." Austin was very pleased with these words. Even more so, Benjamin was quickly on the mend. He put his son Robert in charge of his farming business, and he did not let his father down. Liam and Chloe came out of Benjamin's house with the baby in their arms, and Liam's sister, who became godmother that day. And Benjamin gallantly opened the door to Austin's Liam. She arrived early to participate in the sacrament of baptism in the village church. She didn't wait until her husband was off duty at the hospital. "Get the shish kebab ready," Robert said. Could not resist a smile, looking at his sister Chloe, who was holding his niece in his arms, and now his goddaughter.